Hello and welcome to the Trending Now podcast for this Friday, February 9th, 2024. I'm your host, Louis Bucko, and thank you for joining us as we recap the week that was on Trending Now, which you can catch every Monday to Friday, 7 p.m. and 11:30 on CHCH, CHCH.com, and our Trending Now YouTube page. Coming up on today's show. Disgraced former Fox News host Tucker Carlson sits down with Russian President Vladimir Putin for more than 2 hours this week in an interview released on Twitter. The host of Trending Now, Nicole Martin, has been following this story all week and joins us with that, plus the latest on Russia's war in Ukraine coming up. Bell Canada Enterprises has left workers reeling after announcing plans to cut 9% of its workforce, or nearly 5,000 jobs, in a historic mass layoff, dismantling big chunks of the company's local media assets outside of Toronto. Trending Now reporter Emily Tayler was on this story and much more this week and joins us coming up a little bit later on. And the 2024 Grammy Awards were all about the women, as Miley Cyrus, Billie Eilish, SZA, and yes, Taylor Swift dominate the awards, but it was the instantly legendary performances that stole the show. We'll get a full recap with our in-house entertainment expert and Trending Now producer and co-creator, Laura Sebben, as she joins us before we say goodbye. But first, we start with the other co-creator of Trending Now, that being Nicole Martin. Nicole, always great to see you. Thanks for being on this show. We were just talking. You made it through an hour of this Putin Tucker Carlson interview.
Yes,
I didn't make it through a single second. Even that clip that I cut there to build this intro, I couldn't even. Just the laugh, like that evil Tucker Carlson.
And it wasn't just off the start. It was a few times during the interview, too.
Let's go back to the very beginning, earlier this week, because the story's sort of been trending in the build-up. Right, on Monday, we got reports that, okay, maybe Tucker Carlson. Then Tuesday, he puts out this video, which...
He's clearly in Russia.
Yeah. And he says, we're sitting down because no Western journalist has asked to sit down with Putin. Putin's own people said that's not true. NBC has said, we request interviews with Putin all the time.
Yeah.
What did you make of this 2 hour and 7 minute interview?
Well, I don't even want to call it an interview because it was not journalism, what I watched. You just gave him a platform to just speak whatever was on his mind. He went through, oh my gosh, for at least 30, 40 minutes off the top, just the Russian history, how Russia came to be, how Ukraine came to be. And Tucker was just letting him talk. He even interrupted a couple times, being like, you've been president for 24 years now. Why is it just in the last 2 years you've decided that, okay, we're going to take some land back that was ours, which is now Ukraine? And he wouldn't answer. He just continued, now we're going to go to 1362. I'm like, oh my gosh, when are we going to be at present day? Like, he went through centuries.
Which a lot of it was, historically inaccurate.
Yes.
It was, he's telling the story from a Russian perspective.
Exactly. His point of view.
Which is not the way most of history remembers that.
No. And that's how it is with a lot of the stories he was telling to Tucker Carlson. But some of the funny things, this is why I say it was not an interview, was just the way Putin was even calling out Tucker throughout it. So right off the top, he's saying, is this a real serious interview or is this entertainment? Because you're an entertainer. Yeah. He brought that up several times. Not only that, he mentioned something about the CIA. He says, Tucker, I hear that you applied to the CIA. Thankfully, they didn't take you. I'm like, is he bashing his intelligence? Like, I don't know what that was all about, but he was clearly in control of what was going on.
And I mean, Putin doesn't say yes to this unless he knows. Like, he is a dictator. He is a warmonger. That's all true. But, like, he's not an idiot. Like, he knows how to use the media to his advantage. And in this case, it's Tucker Carlson, who was too right-wing for Fox News. That cost Fox News hundreds of millions of dollars in the settlement. Was just too much. They had to move on from him. When you're too right-wing for Fox News, you go to Twitter or X, and that's what we do. And it's the Elon Musk's praising. It's the right's praising of this interview. And the timing was, I found, pretty interesting because this interview comes out, and at the same time, you had the report about Joe Biden yesterday. Mm-hmm. The Inspector General report basically saying he's an old man, he's confused, he got some dates wrong. So now you have people on the right saying, look at Putin. Look how strong he is. Look how powerful he is. Now look at Joe Biden. It's pretty scary, I would say.
Yeah. And not only that, it's just the timing of it. We know that the election's coming up in the United States in 2024, November. So we're just a few months away now from that. But Hillary Clinton, the former Secretary of State, she sat down and did quite the interview calling Tucker Carlson a useful idiot. But her one big fear is the repercussions this is going to have in the United States. There are so many people that follow Tucker Carlson. His video of my last check was almost 190 million views already of this interview that we're talking about. People are watching it. Will people believe everything that they're hearing? Quite possibly. So what does that mean? And Hillary Clinton also touched on another kind of scary fact, and that's it seems to be there's a yearning in the United States for a leader who is going to jail their political opponents, anyone who voices any dissent for the views of, let's just say, Trump. And that's where we're at.
There are polls that suggest that in the U.S., Putin is a more popular figure than Joe Biden.
No.
Like that's where, I mean, Joe Biden's not a very popular person in the States. Like you say, there's a genuine fear of the normalization of something like this.
Yeah.
We are 2 years now into the war in Ukraine. Speaking of which, busy week this week. You mentioned the timing.
Yeah.
The timing of this, actions that Russia took in Ukraine. What's the latest that's going on in the area?
Well, not only that, continuous missile and drone strikes by Russia, and not just, military sites that they're targeting. These are civilians that they are targeting, hotels, schools, residential buildings. We have at least 5 or 6 deaths a day that are being reported this week. A 2-month-old baby was killed in one of the attacks. And I feel like it's just underreported now at this point because it's just become the norm that this is just happening still on a daily basis. And kind of drawing back to this interview, and this is something I was hoping that Tucker was maybe going to ask Putin about, is the fact that he's already wanted on war crimes. Yeah. From the International Court. And not just that, I have this one article in front of me here. The UN committee, this is just yesterday, has urged Russia to end the forcible transfer of Ukrainian children. This is I didn't even know the numbers were this high, but Kyiv is claiming that 20,000 kids have been illegally taken into Russia, Ukrainian children without their families' consent. So when people were trying to evacuate or deportations that were happening with the Russian troops. So that's really in focus right now. And again, Putin is wanted for war crimes, and that's one of them.
And these children are being taken to Russia. Yeah. And then they're being indoctrinated.
Yes.
To convince them that everything about Ukraine is awful and terrible and Nazism. And we're going to get to a story, the Hunka invite, Yaroslav Hunka. We're going to get to that with Emily Tayler in a little bit. But Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, meanwhile, today says he believes Canadians are too smart to fall for Russian propaganda. He was asked about this interview, and Putin took a shot at Zelensky for taking part in the tribute that featured Hunka, claiming that he invaded Ukraine to defeat neo-Nazis, something Western countries has dismissed as propaganda. Trudeau says Putin will use whatever propaganda he can to try and justify the ongoing invasion of Ukraine. I mean, this is it's scary to watch, right? I don't see what the end is here. Because, again, you mentioned the elections in the U.S. Not only that, they can't even agree on things that they agree on, that being the border crisis, which would have funding for Ukraine, which would have funding for Israel and Palestinians.
Finally, that is now passed to go to a full vote in the House. But when that will be scheduled, we don't know.
Yeah. It's hard to stay optimistic.
It's interesting some of the things Putin did say about that, because he claims that they almost came to an agreement in April of 2022 to stop the fighting, but that Zelensky pulled out of the deal. Again, this is what Putin was saying in the interview. He's saying that the only way out is going to be to come to some kind of agreement. And it sounds as though it's going to be whatever land that they have taken over in Ukraine will just become Russian land. So who's going to agree to that? Probably no one.
You're a journalist. Mm-hmm. How would you approach an interview with Putin?
Well, in this time right now, I don't even know if it is the right time to sit down with him. I understand that everyone is talking with him, but you need to call him out for what the United Nations is looking at him for. and these are war crimes. The fact that that was not even addressed, and we're just taking everything. And Tucker should have been way more prepared in terms of, okay, here are the questions I want to ask. What is Putin's response likely going to be?
Yeah.
I mean, guaranteed Putin got the questions in advance. So you need to start thinking, what are his answers going to be? How am I going to call him out on this? How am I going to fact check what he's saying? He went unfact checked the entire interview. You have to be ready to do something like that.
It was the laughing. It was the jovialness of it all. Like, it was just like the,
if you're interviewing a dictator, you don't start laughing, especially if he's making fun of you.
Within the first 30 seconds of the interview, taking a shot, was this entertainment or,
I think it's important for viewers to know, too, that this is not, again, it's not journalism. This isn't going on a broadcast station. This is going on the internet. This is going on his website. He posted on his website first, I'm sure, to draw up traffic, more money for him. Yep. It's money. The whole section of it, he's talking about Elon Musk. How is
and of course, Elon's going to share it, and Elon wants to, like, this is Tucker Carlson Network, which is on. Yeah. This is our last podcast for a few weeks.
Yes.
Do you want to explain why?
Okay. Yes, I'm going away again. I'm not pregnant, obviously. I'm not going on a mat leave.
Let's get that rumor out of the way.
Yeah, exactly. No. So, it's unfortunate, but I have developed quite a large ovarian cyst. And, 8% of women, from what I was just reading, develop cysts that are so large, mine's larger than a softball at this point, that they need to be surgically removed. And so I'm in quite a lot of pain, and they've moved up my surgery a few times now. So I will be gone next week for 4 weeks. And hopefully all goes well.
We are going to miss you. I want to genuinely thank you for putting my name up there as a potential replacement. And I'm happy to say for at least the first few weeks, I'll be filling in for you.
Yes.
So big shoes to fill, obviously. And we wish you all the best. And we can't wait to see you back at 100%. And knowing the pain you're going through and everything, you're still crushing it every day. So we appreciate it.
Louie, thank you.
Awesome.
And have fun hosting.
I will.
I'll be back, but have fun hosting, Louie.
Pretty excited. Okay, thanks, Nicole.
Thank
all right, my thanks to Nicole Martin for joining us. And as we continue on with this, Justin Trudeau, I wanted to get to this part of it because earlier this week, Justin Trudeau's office says that it did invite Nazi veteran Yaroslav Hunka to a reception for Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky in Toronto the same day that Hunka was given a standing ovation in Parliament, all without knowing his Nazi connections. Now, Trudeau apologized in the House of Commons in September, but it was Speaker of the House Anthony Rota who took responsibility for inviting Hunka to the House and ultimately resigned over the incident. Now, both say they were unaware the 98-year-old served in a Ukrainian unit of the SS Waffen during the Second World War, bringing up questions of what kind of vetting process the guest list underwent, if any, and sparking public outcry. The invitation was sent by the Office of Protocol of Canada to Hunka, and he did not attend the reception in Toronto. In an emailed statement this week, the Prime Minister's office says Trudeau had no knowledge of this individual, and knowing what is known now, the individual shouldn't have been invited. But as we were talking with Nicole, Putin used this, specifically calling out Justin Trudeau as part of his interview. This was a story that was covered by our very talented, very good friend, Emily Tayler.
Hello.
Who's on set with us now. And Emily, obviously, even this story has changed. This is the great thing I love about this show. Like, we'll do a story on Wednesday, and by Friday, it's like, oh, yeah, we got to update it because now Putin is saying this and Trudeau's saying that.
Exactly.
But this was a big deal at the time. That's not what I want to get to you about. I want to talk to you about the Bell Media cuts. Bell has
also a changing story.
Yeah, Bell has said that it will lay off nearly 5,000 people, including journalists. They'll sell off 45 radio stations and end most of its noon and weekend newscasts across the country. Now, for me, this is personal.
Yes.
I think in June on this show, I had a very impassioned rant against Bell Media.
So I remember.
What's the latest? What have you heard? Because this is obviously, again, near and dear to me.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people. I worked at 6 of those stations that got cut or that are in the process of being sold. Excuse me. Mm-hmm. What have you been hearing? What's the take on this?
Yeah, I mean, I think the latest thing today is we had Trudeau respond. In terms of the actual Bell Media cuts, there's still a lot of information that we don't have, right? So this was an internal memo to staff, not actually an official announcement from Bell Media's CEO. And we don't know who's getting cut quite yet. It's not really clear who these 4,800 jobs are going to be because they're going to be announced by the spring, right? And a lot of the journalists specifically are unionized at Bell. So will it be seniority-wise? Will it be, if your show is cut, you're cut as well? Very unclear as to what's going to happen. So I can't imagine the anxiety and tension that's happening in these Bell newsrooms. And then the radio stations, as you mentioned, 45 of the regional radio stations were sold off to 7 different owners. So some in St. Catharines also, some in our region. Yep. As I'm sure you know.
Yep. So I started, so my first on-air job was at CKTB in St. Catharines. I was there when it was an Astral station, then Bell Bottom.
Yeah.
There was a book on my desk saying, "Welcome to Bell," and I was so, excited to be part of this giant company. Little did I know, a few years later, I'd be laid off, and I'm not sure how much I'm allowed to talk about that.
You have an NDA
as part of my severance agreement. Maybe even mentioning the word severance, I'm not allowed. The thing is, it's we're, late 20s, early 30s, we got our foot in we more than have our foot in the door, right? I feel for all those kids who are going through journalism programs, whatever journalism programs are left, but broadcast programs, those are, it would be hard for me to go back to Niagara College and get excited about this industry when I see things like this.
It's tough even now as someone who, as you're saying, is more established. I'm 25. I've been here for about 2.5 years or so, but I remember even when I was in school, there was very, very much that air of you'll never get a job in journalism kind of thing. And it was if you keep trying and trying and trying, eventually you're going to make it to not be freelance and to be able to be somewhere full-time, part-time, whatever it is, right? And that even if you get work, it's going to be precarious. And maybe Bell proves that in this case because even full-time jobs aren't necessarily as secure as we thought, but that was already the air when I was in school and at Western. So I feel for the kids who are going through it.
So Bell says they're blaming government regulations. They say a lack of government support for the decision to cut jobs, saying media regulating bills like Bill C-18 and C-11 won't provide immediate help for their revenue shortfalls. This is the part that if we have one takeaway about this, you're going to announce that you're laying off 5,000 people.
Yeah.
You took $40 million in government funding.
Yep.
which is about $40 million worth of people you're laying off. Your CEO makes $15 million a year.
13.5 in most recent.
Your dividends are $3.99 a share, which make them the highest among the TSX. So if I have 1,000 shares of, you have to think about it very simply. I have 1,000 shares of Bell. I'm just happy I'm getting my $3,000 in dividend payments this quarter.
And they went up, right? It was $3.97 recently, went up to $3.99. It's inching,
and it's already the high, among the highest in TSX. This is a $1 billion company.
Yeah.
And I hate to go and I'm not going conspiracy theory here, but I don't think people are aware of just how much Bell impacts their life.
Yeah.
You could have your cell phone, it could be the TV you watch, it could be the channels you watch. It's very likely not going to be the radio stations you listen to anymore because of this deal. There's huge telecommunication companies in the world, in this country, that have a lot of power.
And that's the thing, right, is they said that these businesses have become unsustainable, specifically with the radio
They
ones.
bought them.
Yeah.
They bought them 15 years ago.
And then actually sold them for profit, or for some money at least. I don't know what the deals were actually. But so clearly there's still some value there. Someone thinks that they're sustainable. But that was actually what the BC Premier the other day, or David Eby, was saying, and now Trudeau has come out and sort of echoed as well, is that Bell bought these companies, stripped their resources from them, and then said that they were unsustainable. So whose fault is that? They were very much pointing the finger at Bell, calling it corporate greed, a garbage decision.
That was Trudeau today,
Trudeau said it was, I don't know if I can swear this podcast.
Go for it.
Pissing him off.
Yeah,
I know.
We can say up to shit. Is
okay.
If we anywhere beyond there, we have to be careful.
Okay.
I'd have to bleep it in editing, but I can say that word. I've been told I can say that word.
Okay, and then Eby called it, Bell did the encrapification of legal news, or local news, sorry.
Yeah.
So that was...
like I say, I don't know, again, legally what I'm allowed to say as somebody who signed something a long time ago.
Yeah.
But it's just like I was there in not even the high times, but I remember working in a newsroom that had a morning anchor, a morning reporter, midday anchor, midday report. It was a bustling newsroom.
Yeah.
And now it's one person.
Yeah.
All day. one person 9 to 5. Like, and it's not just the jobs, which are, people that I know and people that I've worked with or have applied for jobs with. It's the journalism jobs that are cut. It is the CTV. It's the CTV Kitchener noon. It's the CTV Atlantic noon broadcast. It's weekend news.
Yeah.
Like, thank God we still do weekend news here. But not having a weekend news is devastating for communities. And just think, if I'm a politician, if I'm a corrupt individual, holy shit, what I think I can get away with here.
You got the shit in there.
I
Very
did.
nice.
Thank you. Yeah, I had to. Because you teed me up for it. Like, we always say, Washington Post, I think it's democracy dies in darkness.
Yeah.
Like, there aren't these people telling these stories, then they're not going to get told.
And a lot of communities are left completely in the dark, right? You still have the shows for Toronto, Montreal, and Ottawa, I believe, but that leaves a huge chunk of the country just completely without shows. And that's what I spoke to a journalism professor who studies this sort of thing, and he said that was the biggest concern for him. Obviously, the job loss is terrible and everything like that, but the fact that shows fully are being cut is a huge dig at keeping people informed, right? Yeah. Canadians already have such little trust in media overall, and that's being studied. This is not just a speculation. It's going down. It's declining.
But I mean, we can say from firsthand experience,
and also
though,
from
too.
Speculation. Anecdotally, it matches.
Anecdotally, we can say, yes.
And people just have less and less of an idea of how to differentiate between disinformation and from journalism. So if you have less journalism, less actual reporting and facts out there, then that gets muddled even further.
You got big plans for the weekend?
Actually, no.
Oh, isn't that nice?
Yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to it.
Nice? So I was like house sitting for my buddy last weekend, cat sitting. They don't trust this cat to be alone. Like, ridiculous. They went skiing and can you watch this cat? And I'm like, sure. It was just nice. It was like a little Airbnb, like not my house. Yeah. They have cable. I don't have cable.
Oh, I don't have cable. That's a luxury.
Yeah, they have multiple floors to their house. I'm like, I have an apartment. I was like, I was living luxury. Living large. So that was my big exciting last weekend. This weekend I'm like, I'm gonna keep it like calm.
Yeah. Well, Super Bowl, you must be going to Super Bowl plans.
Yeah. Okay. So I got a couple options because I'm always that guy who doesesn't commit to something but listens to all the offers. I know it's awful. I know the worst kind of
friend.
person. Like, I got one buddy who's like, I got a brisket, and like he showed me a picture. It's like $100 brisket that he's gonna smoke.
Okay.
So that's pretty high on the list. Yeah. But then it's like, I don't want to commit.
No, because they're really like trying to entice you with little bits. They're like, ooh, we have beer. We have brisket. We have nachos. Like, you gotta like pick your favorite thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna be sitting eating my chicken wing dip at home. I want both teams to lose. That's all I want. Emily, thanks for doing this. Have a great weekend. Who's winning?
Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, really, Taylor Swift.
It's Taylor Swift's world, and we're going to get to that in the Grammys in just a second. It's Taylor Swift's world. The rest of us are just living in it. You got to go work on your stories, so I will let you go. Thanks for doing this. All right, my thanks to Emily Tayler for joining me. And still ahead, before we go, we're going to wrap up the show with the super talented Laura Sebben, who's going to have a full recap of the Grammy Awards, and I think I just saw her make an appearance. But before we get to that, I wanted to get to this as King Charles. I originally wrote Prince Charles in my script here, but it is King Charles has announced that he's been diagnosed with a form of cancer. Now, royal source says it is not prostate cancer after the king's recent treatment for a benign prostate enlargement, but did not elaborate further on the diagnosis. Now, the palace says the 75-year-old monarch has already begun treatment and that Charles remains wholly positive about his treatment and looks forward to returning to full public duty as soon as possible. Now, the king has stepped back from all public-facing duties while he undergoes treatment. Senior royals, including the Queen and the Prince of Wales, will take on his duties for some events. Asked how the king was doing at an event at Salisbury Cathedral yesterday, Queen Camilla said he is very touched by all... Sorry, I had to. He's very touched by all the letters and messages the public have been sending from everywhere. You didn't like that? Laura Sebben joins us here on the show. You didn't like that? No. He is very touched by all the letters and messages the public have been sent. Is that disrespect? I'll probably get in trouble.
I don't know. To be honest, I don't even know what she sounds like.
She probably
I don't know.
sounds like this. British woman. Queen Camilla as well. It's still weird for me to say King Charles.
I know. Might have to switch it up soon.
Can you imagine waiting 70 years for your dream job? And our thoughts are with the king and a full and healthy recovery.
But I also I could never be a royal watcher because I'm so nosy and they don't tell you anything.
Well, there was this one story, some royal expert was he's afraid of chemo or something.
Yeah, I saw that.
He's anti-chemo. He's going to be doing an herb. If I'm Prince William, I'm
But also what kind of cancer?
Shining up.
Tell me. Yeah. Give me the deets. I pay for it.
And they were so open with his enlarged prostate. We had to know about his enlarged prostate. But this we're we're gonna keep it under wraps. We're gonna keep this one under wraps.
Exactly.
The 66th annual Grammy Awards provided an action-packed shows where women earned the biggest honors and had the majority of the most memorable performances. I was just telling Emily Tayler, I was house sitting for my friends.
Okay.
And, they have cable. I don't normally have, so I watched it.
Okay,
I watched the Grammy
wow.
Awards, and I was thoroughly impressed. Actually, from beginning to end, I thought the award show, I thought it was very well done.
Yeah, if you the Grammys is not the award show you watch for the awards. You watch it for the music. I think they handed out 6 awards.
Yeah,
maybe.
I noticed that.
So it's a more enjoyable one if you like music because it's just basically a 2.5 hour concert. And I just thought it so many of the performances were so memorable and the in memoriam. It was 20 minutes long, but it was because they were singing songs. I just thought it was fantastic. I thought
Fantasia Barrino.
Oh my god, I love her. I love that people are finally recognizing her talent after they
What do you mean? She won American Idol.
She did, but then everybody swept her under the rug.
Because she didn't win, because we expect American Idol winners to win Oscars the very next year, like J-Hud.
Wow. But she was only the third. J-Hud wasn't even a thing.
Oh, yeah, that's right. She didn't
at the
win,
time.
right?
Yeah. Fantasia
she lost to Ruben. Was that Ruben's year?
Maybe.
Ruben stuttered.
Fantasia, though, was the third winner, though. It was Kelly Clarkson, Clay Aiken, and then her.
No, Ruben beat Clay Aiken.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. See, I know my.
Good job.
This is why I'm trying to get an invite to Trivia Thursday.
Okay.
This is what I'm trying to show you that I know my
well,
pop
when
culture.
you're on the late shift, you can come.
Okay, sounds good. I really enjoyed the Luke Combs, Tracy Chapman.
Oh
I mean,
my
that
God.
was because they didn't show her right away, right? They showed the close up on the guitar, and then they kind of pulled out, and you were like, "Oh, damn!"
Yeah,
they kind of had to.
It got me.
But it did. You almost knew it was coming.
I had a feeling they were doing this little package before, and I was like, "Is she gonna be there?" I don't know. And then just to see, I welled up a little bit, just seeing her face, when everybody was just screaming for her. It was so cute, and she doesn't go out much.
No, just her 4th public performance in 15 years, as you wrote in your recap. Joni Mitchell.
Yeah.
Took the Grammy stage for the first time in her career.
Crazy.
After suffering a brain aneurysm that forced her to relearn how to walk, speak, and sing. And you mentioned the in memoriam segment, Fantasia Barrino with Tina Turner.
Which also, though, circling back to American Idol, was a very full circle moment for her because she auditioned for American Idol with Proud Mary.
What?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
With a nice intro from Oprah. I was saying in the canteen later in the week that I had thought Tina Turner had died 5 years ago. I to the point where I'm like, why are they honoring Tina Turner? And then I looked it up. It was May 2020.
Hey, these things happen. Up until maybe 3 years ago, I fully thought Bob Dylan was a member of the 27 Club. He's been dead for a long time. And then,
maybe.
And then I think he was given a Nobel Peace Prize. And I go, what is they posthumously honoring him? And one of our producers, Dawn, was like, he's still alive.
Jay-Z accepting the Dr. Dre Global Impact Award, using the time to bringing Blue Ivy onto the stage.
I don't know if he that was a plan.
Was
it seemed
it
like she just kind of followed him up there. I don't know.
Meanwhile, Beyonce was she was letting it known. She's not she's won more Grammys than any other person in the history of the show, right?
And been nominated for more.
But has never been nominated for Album of the Year.
She's been nominated. She's never been given it.
Because that's what he used part of his speech to.
Yeah. Well, we were kind of talking last night at trivia.
Sure.
And
oh, wow. You had to bring up trivia. I just told you my feelings are hurt about it.
You did not. You just said you wanted an invite.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. You're right.
Okay.
All right. same thing.
Fact check you.
Yeah.
No, we were
Fact check me
talking
on my
about
own
it
show.
last night. Beyonce's just always, she's always pushing the envelope. She's always doing stuff that people have never done before. And last year she lost to Harry Styles, and I'm a Harry Styles stan till the day I die. I love that man. I got tattoos that have to do with him.
Okay.
But like the Renaissance album, I've always just been a casual Beyonce fan. Like I'll listen to her radio hits, but that album, I'm like, I love Beyonce. I'm obsessed with her now. Like, so
I
I'm like,
remember that. I
what
remember the
else?
change.
So I'm like, what else does this girl have to do? Like, what do they want from her? Do they want her to make like a white pop album full of cliche lyrics like somebody else does?
Whoa! Speaking of, Midnight's earned Swift her. Is that who you're talking about?
Yeah.
Taylor Swift won her 4th career Grammy for Album of the Year. That's an achievement no one can match. Her 4th
Which,
win
congratulations.
in the category.
I'll give it to her. Congrats.
Hard for you not to.
No, but it's
hard
a
for you
big
not to
milestone.
sound sarcastic doing that.
It's a big milestone.
Good for you. Good for you. My thing was that like she clearly knew when she won. She clearly thought she was going to win more than one.
Yeah.
Right? Because like she goes up, she won the first one for Best Pop Vocal Album.
Yeah.
She announced new music. Like
See,
everything was very like she didn't thank anyone. She used her first acceptance speech to say, "Hey, everybody, check my new album. Oh, you're gonna get the art." Like this is the thing with Taylor Swift. Like she is so successful and she is so like good at what she does. Clearly, she's a talented songwriter.
100%.
She's a billionaire. She's a smart businesswoman. But like. You're making it hard, Taylor. Like you're making it hard sometimes when you're everywhere all at once.
Yeah, I saw a TikTok that like described that moment really well because a lot of the reaction outside of fan reaction to her announcing new music, which obviously like for her fans was like super exciting because everybody thought that she was going to announce the re-record of Reputation.
Which she did later. Did she not?
No.
Oh, she hasn't done that yet? Okay.
No, so I think that's the second last one that she has to re-record. It's that one in her debut that she has to re-record that are left, if I'm not mistaken. But everybody thought that was coming, and then she announced the music instead, and that was like super exciting. But another faction of the conversation about that was the reaction of the crowd and being like, everybody just looked pissed. And I saw a TikTok, and somebody kind of explained it really well, was that she wasn't announcing this in front of her fans. She was announcing it in front of her peers. And she took the moment to once again make it all about her. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm not one of those people who shits on Taylor Swift. Like I'm not one, like I think she does great. Like I've told the story. I have a Taylor Swift poster.
Hell yeah.
Like I think I listen to her music. It's like I'm not here, but it's just like you don't make it easy to defend you when you're doing all this stuff, especially something like that. No, there was the snub with Celine.
It was. I don't think she had to say anything about Celine Dion in her speech. Like, I know a lot of people were comparing it to Miley shouting out Mariah Carey, and I don't think she needed to say anything. Granted, she was given an award at the VMAs last year by NSYNC and made her entire speech about that. So she is capable of doing it. But I think the issue was that when she took the award from Celine Dion, she literally didn't even look at her. She didn't even look at her. She didn't say thank you. So I think that was what, like, I didn't need her to say, oh my God, can you believe Celine Dion? But looking at her and being like, thank you so much before she got up to do her speech.
The pair did share a photo after the show backstage, and it was nice to see Celine Dion. Like I wasn't sure what to expect, and she sounded great.
So
and
nice.
You know, obviously she's dealing with a stiff person syndrome, but it was great to see her. And then I thought Miley Cyrus kicked ass too.
Oh,
her performance
she was
of Flowers, like
she was great.
First, she thought it was over, and then she did the little guitar thing at the end.
Yeah,
and she kicked over. I really like Miley Cyrus.
I enjoy her. She's a very, very, very good
super
performer.
talented.
I didn't love her hair that night.
Super Bowl. Who do you got? First of all, is Taylor Swift going to be there?
Obviously, she's going to be there.
She's in Tokyo the day before.
Yeah, and everybody's already done the math. She can get there and have time for a nap before she has to be in the
you're
stadium.
telling me she's not gonna? She doesn't have her private. One of her 8 private jets doesn't have a bedroom that she can.
Well, she'll sleep on the flight too, but like she has time to take a chill pill at the
hotel. Do you
hotel.
think she'll be celebrating with her significant other, Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes?
I
Are you picking the Chiefs?
genuinely do not care. Like, not about like her, but like about the game.
No Rihanna. Last year was like I want to say like last year was like your Super Bowl.
I'm wearing the shirt.
Like Rihanna was the biggest thing. Like it's going to be hard for that to top. Like
for me,
years.
yeah. Normally my watching of the Super Bowl goes, my mom's watching. Laura, the halftime show's on. I come out of my room, watch it, come back, go back into my room. I think I would have watched if the Lions were in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I think I would
That's
have.
fair.
Or the Bills. I probably would have. But otherwise, I have no stake in these teams. But if I had to pick one, I'm going to go 49ers because my cousin lives in San Jose and he goes to the 49ers games.
There you go.
So
I've been to one Super Bowl. That was the New England Patriots beat the Seattle Seahawks. It was in Arizona. Katy Perry halftime show.
Ooh, that's a good one.
That was a good one. That was Left Shark. That was Left Shark.
Good one.
But yeah, that kind of the same
How'd
reason.
you get there?
My buddy's parents had a place in Arizona. Another buddy's friend had a connection with tickets.
Okay.
So we bought tickets, face value, $600.
Wow, that's so exciting.
Yeah, and so it's kind of the same idea. Like having been to one unless the Bills are there, like everything else is sort of just like, been there, done that type thing.
And I feel like these two teams were just kind of like the boring teams this year. You know, like
good.
I know the Ravens were like at the top, but they even would have been okay because of the whole story with Lamar Jackson. Like I just feel like there were better stories for teams to have gone in, whereas these two you're just like, ugh, like okay. It's kind of like the Warriors got in 4 years in a row. Like enough of the Chiefs. I'm done.
You're done.
I'm done, and I don't even follow football, and I'm done.
All right. Well, with that, I appreciate you doing this. Thank you. You got a show. You got to get ready.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And then I'm not sure if you heard, but Nicole's taking some time off.
She is,
and we're gonna take a break from the podcast for a couple weeks.
Don't.
We haven't decided.
Don't come crying to me on Fridays when we have just as much work to do.
Yay! But again, I thank Nicole, but I want to thank you too for trusting me to anchor for a few days to fill in, and looking forward to it. There you go. All right, thanks, Laura.
Thanks, Louie.
All right, my thanks to Laura Sebben for joining me. My thanks to Emily Tayler and Nicole Martin as well. And thank you for joining us. Remember, you can follow Trending Now on all your favorite social media channels. That includes X, YouTube, and TikTok at Trending Now CHCH. And while you're liking and subscribing, why don't you go ahead and like and subscribe to CHCH Podcast, where you can catch all of our shows, including all the Trending Nows, all the Newsmakers podcasts, including the brand new Sports Line podcast with Bubba O'Neill, all available at chch.com/podcasts. My thanks to Mike Corsten for directing today's show, and my thanks to Alex Pohl as well, because she rolled the prompter, and I appreciate that, Alex. And thank you for joining us, because we could not do the show without your support. From all of us here at CHCH, I'm Louie Butko, hoping you have a great weekend.